As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. Esports bookies Luckbox posts 5.4 million Canadian annual loss amid CEO departure. And so the story here is about Real Luck Group, the parent company of esports betting company Luckbox. They reported this loss, 5.5 million for 2020. They're an esports bookie, allows fans to bet on all major esports tournaments. And what's interesting is basically the CEO stepped down just before, right? I think just before they announced.
Yeah, I think so.
No, just days after posting their annual performance. Sorry. So they announced the departure of the CEO, Quentin Martin, just days after. This is one of these stories, you know, it's sort of fun sometimes to have business stories where we can put tinfoil hats on and sort of come up with conspiracy theories why the CEO would just pick up and leave. According to this article, I think it said that he voluntarily stepped down, whatever that means.
How much did they do in revenue? I'm curious. Didn't even say. So
revenue of 75,000 Canadian
for the year. Even if it's for the quarter, that's pretty low. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this the other day when I mean, it's a very interesting article.
And revenue of $4,000 in 2019. $4,000 Canadian dollars.
That's like Business of Esports, T-shirt revenue.
That's true. It actually is.
Yeah, I don't really want to speculate because I don't know the answer. It's a pretty interesting story. I mean, you've seen a couple of high-profile departures. I mean, one, significantly bigger. I mean, Matt King, from the CEO of FanDuel, left this week, and I think that's a pretty big job that's open now, particularly with FanDuel potentially listing. Doing a dual listing here in the US, that will be a seat that's, who knows, maybe Quentin Martin's going to be the CEO of FanDuel. That would be pretty cool. But I don't know Quentin and I don't know anything about the story, so I don't want to speculate too much, but every time I've heard him on panels, he sounds good. I think they've built a pretty good company. Sounds like they've got a pretty strong, stud that's replacing him. So I think they'll do well, but it is surprising to see, someone who was kind of there, the face of the company and obviously the CEO, depart with no real backstory.
I mean, they say, at least in reporting the results, that the calendar of esports events was impacted in 2020, right? Which is true, right? You had just fewer events to bet on. But none of this sort of the loss. They lost, just to be clear, they lost 5.5 million in 2020, but they lost 20 million in 2019, right? So it's one of these things where it's not like you can even say he clearly did a horrible job, right? There's definite improvement in the business, revenue's up, costs are down, right?
They just raised a bunch of money. I mean, so the answer maybe is the people who they raised money from. Part of it, they wanted a different leader, or they wanted someone else, but they just raised them $20 million. So it's not like they're struggling. They're doing relatively well.
So Chris has a question here. Better question: did we saturate esports betting already?
I hope not.
No. I mean, I hope that was being facetious.
I think
honestly,
I think it's the early innings. I think there's a number of different companies going, same way we see in traditional sports. I mean, I think there's a number of different companies going after what is a pretty large and rapidly growing TAM. So,
and I would say we're literally in the first inning, right? just the lack of options
I mean,
to bet
we
in the
might
US.
we're arguably in the second or third inning of traditional sports betting here in the US. Esports, the game probably hasn't even started yet, realistically. I don't think.
So yeah, nowhere close. It's going to be massive in the US. Like there's no question. In the same way sports betting is going to be massive in the US. Yeah. It's cracking the US regulatory environment that is the crux of all of this, really, I think. I don't know, Jeff, if you have a different view on that.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, Christian's question here is a funny one, I guess. It's a little bit.
Can you explain how a betting company loses money? Too much spending on infrastructure and not enough betting.
Well, Christian, I don't know where you live, but if you're anywhere in the U.S. or like New Jersey or Illinois or one of these states that's open, I mean, you pretty much can't watch the TV or a sporting event without seeing an advertisement for one of these companies. So it's really spending on sales and marketing, and they're growing out their platform, and then also they're giving away a bunch of bonus money to keep people engaged. It's basically same way with mobile gaming. The customer acquisition costs are really high, but you're doing the math that the lifetime value of the customer is over the long term higher than that customer acquisition cost. So in the short term, you can be losing a lot of money as you're acquiring new customers, but over time, once you get scale and keep those customers, your margins go way up. Also, as they're building out into different states, different states are on different stages of that growth curve. So like DraftKings, for example, has said they're profitable in New Jersey because they've been in New Jersey for I think 3 years at this point, 2 or 3 years. So that state, if that state was a company, just DraftKings, New Jersey, it would be EBITDA positive. But because they're adding on all these other states where they're clearly spending and they're early in that curve, their overall, business is losing money.
Yeah, and Chris mentions this. FanDuel and DraftKings customer acquisition is crazy. Yeah, but Chris, they've done the math, right? Like the reality is once you acquire one of these customers and they're on your betting platform, like gamblers are good customers. And they're people have become pretty good at sort of modeling out the lifetime value of those customers. But you're right. And to Jeff's point, the customer acquisition cost is where the big expense is, which is also, by the way, why you see a lot of betting, whether it's sports or esports, buying content and content businesses, because they realize content's a path to customer acquisition, and often a much cheaper path to customer acquisition by acquiring customers through content. So yeah, what podcast, Jeff, did
Dan Lebitard's podcast got bought for $50 million. $50 million over 3 years by DraftKings, and they've done a bunch of acquisitions. I mean, they bought Vegas Sports Information Network for $100 million. I saw an article. I mean, they hired a head of media, so there's some speculation they're kind of creating a little bit of a media business to go direct to consumer, which is interesting. But yeah,
there was another esports betting company that bought a media company in the last week.
Rivalry is big and has a big presence in. I know they tout their media and their social media and stuff like that. Trying to think which one you're talking about. Is it eBet? Maybe, I don't know.
No. Come on, seriously.
I'm not saying it. You have to make your own announcements.
was trying to just slip it in there, very cool and casual. I don't know. Thank you for not.
I didn't actually even think of it.
Thank you for not playing along. Yeah, esports.
You gotta make your own announcement.
Esports Entertainment Group also getting into the content and media game in a big way, guys. So if you didn't see that announcement, just search for it. Esports Entertainment Group. All right.
That was awkward.
That was you just
I didn't get it.
You did, yeah. When I'm gonna blame,
I'm like working.
I'm gonna blame the shot. I'm gonna blame the vaccine. Chris says it's just timing. Yes, agreed. We're just early. Christian, very informative. Jeff, thanks for the juice there.
I've got a lot of very informative. I feel like I'm really doing well tonight.
You are doing well tonight. Chris says Barstool scared them all. Yeah, well, because content's just such an obvious way to drive betting and drive customer acquisition for betting. They just go hand in hand so perfectly. It's again why you're seeing all these betting companies, including Esports Entertainment Group, buying media and content businesses. Cam says betting scene is definitely something I need to learn more about. Cam, it's a space to watch. I don't say it like I'm not exaggerating. I think it's going to be one of the biggest drivers of revenue in the esports space by far. So definitely a space to pay attention to. All right. What do you want to talk about, Jeff? We can do a story about EA Sports games, do more EA. We can talk about a blockchain gaming platform called Forte, valued at $1 billion. We can talk about how Ninja makes money. Digital tabletop gaming platforms. We have time for about maybe one or two more stories. Overactive Media. Remember the $500 million stadium, guys?
Yeah.
The $500 million stadium was not enough. Now they have a gaming studio.
Gotta have a gaming studio if you have a $500 million whatever stadium. Why not?
It's not enough, right?
Are they going public? What's their deal? Are they getting all this money?
It's a good question. You would think that's in the plans. You would think they might have to if they're actually going to build a $500 million stadium. It's just, what do they have in their business to go public with? They have 2 esports teams. That's it. Well, 3.
And a stadium and an unfinished stadium. A bunch of blueprints.
They have
blueprints to a stadium.
They have pictures. I doubt they even have blueprints.
Hopefully they have a lease agreement or something.
Oh, no, I doubt it. Seriously doubt it. I'm pretty sure it's just pictures at this point.
It's pretty good. Not bad.
Are you impressed?
I mean, pictures don't cost a lot. They haven't spent a lot of money yet. It's good.
So what do you feel about them doing a Red Bull studio thing with a big reveal, splashy reveal on top of the stadium? Do you not feel this is a bit like overkill?
I mean, the stadium's not going to be built for a long time, so if they want to create content, they're going to need a studio. I don't think this is that big of a news, right? I think it's like surprising that they didn't have one already to some extent, you know?
Okay. Really?
I don't know. Do you not agree?
It's like building the team house after you announced a $500 million stadium. It's like, it seems like a step backwards, right? You just sold me on this like massive, huge project, crazy, you know, it's going to be the biggest thing in gaming. And then now we have this rinky dink little like studio with Red Bull. You don't feel like that's a bit of a step backwards?
Hopefully they didn't describe it that way. That would be bad.
As a rinky dink.
I see your point. I just think it's more like the timing. This stadium's not going to be done for years. Like they need some place to create their content now. So I don't know. Maybe that's too logical of a way to look at it.